From UFOs to psychic powers and government conspiracies, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now or learn the stuff they don't want you to know.
And we are back. Now we are jumping over to a message we got from Buddy. Buddy emailed us and he said, I've been told this story a few times by other conspiracy realists. He says, are you familiar with the story of the Gulf Breeze 6? It was 6 intelligence operatives with high-level security clearances stationed in Germany, and they went AWOL. Which means they left, basically. They ghosted. They turn up a week later in Gulf Breeze, Florida. What happens in that week is super strange. I'm talking prophecies, Ouija boards, busted taillights, and the second coming of Jesus. Hope y'all can look into this one. And that's how Buddy finished. Wow.
Oh, Buddy. This is funny. This is one that I had heard of a while back, but I couldn't remember. You know how something's kind of on your tip of your tongue? You could say my specific memories of it went absent without leave, right? They went AWOL. Yeah.
AWOL.
But what's going on here, Matt?
Well, what's going on is an amazing story, and I can't wait for us to tell you about it and for you to know about it, and then for you to talk about it the next time you're hanging with somebody else, because it's just a fun story. I've got 3 specific news stories from the 90s that we're going to go through. Noel, you've got the first one. It's from the New York Times. If you can just read us what was happening.
I sure can. 6 soldiers found in Florida AWOL from U.S. spy unit by Eric Schmidt, special to the New York Times. That's nice. Special reporter, I guess. Mm-hmm. So it goes like this. I'll kind of give you a little bit of an abridgment, but give you the highlights. 6 soldiers missing from an Army intelligence unit at a sensitive national security agency eavesdropping post in West Germany have been apprehended in Florida and are the focus of a routine counter-espionage investigation, the Pentagon said today. No arrests at this point. The Army said there was no evidence to suggest that the soldiers were in fact spies. And a 3-week-old Army regulation, this is very new at the time, that Army personnel with access to classified information be detained immediately if they extend their leave without permission. Okay, and then here's a quote from Pentagon spokesperson Bob Hall. The Army says it does not appear to be an espionage case, but they have to make a counterintelligence investigation. That's standard procedure. And then on the West Germany side, investigators have been told that the 6 belong to a group called the End of the World. But Pentagon officials said they know nothing about this group or whether it has any bearing on the case whatsoever. And then the Pentagon said that 2 of the soldiers went on authorized leave from the 701st Military Intelligence Brigade at Augsburg, West Germany, 2 weeks prior to the story and never returned. At the same time, 2 other soldiers from the unit vanished, and officials had suspected that 2 additional soldiers who were on leave would not return.
Yeah, so, dude, this is crazy stuff. So here's what you need to know. There were 6 soldiers. These are the 6 soldiers we're mentioning here. They went missing from an Army intelligence unit at a sensitive national security agency eavesdropping post in West Germany.
It's also important to note that these people who lit out for the territories, as Mark Twain would say, were also very relatively young, the oldest being around 26 years old. So they had not necessarily had like decades-long careers. This isn't the same thing as somebody with 20 years in the organization or in the government deciding to fly the coop. And despite their planning, despite the clearly premeditated way that they phased their desertion or going AWOL, they were caught.
Yes, they were caught because the authorities found them riding around in a van that had a taillight out, and they just, a local officer just happened to check their plates and found out that they went back to one of the missing intelligence officers. Then they ended up following them to an apartment where upon bursting into said apartment, they found $4,000 in cash. And in 1990, that's quite a bit of money. And it's not crazy, but it's quite a bit of money to have on hand.
Especially when you consider the income of a younger person in the military.
Exactly. Then all 6 got flown to Fort Benning, and that's where this story ends. And then UPI comes in with another story, which is an update from just a little while, about 10 days, I think, after this initial article was written.
That's right. Yeah. The July 28th, 1990 story from UPI notes that the accusations were upgraded from going AWOL to full-on desertion. They were discharged from their military obligation, as Major Joseph Aldrich said. And also in the course of the investigation, it was revealed that while they were at that post in West Germany, they had told friends they were leaving for a reason together. You see, they had an appointment. This group calling itself the End of the World, their appointment was with none other than Jesus Christ, who had returned. And he was also, in his time since the crucifixion and the resurrection, he had gotten really deep into UFOs. And that was one of the things that the End of the World 6 from the 701st were going to go talk to him about. Maybe in Gulf Breeze, maybe somewhere else. Maybe that's just where they met up to go meet up with Jesus.
Exactly. And so the important here to note is that these intelligence agents or these intelligence officers were all into cryptography. That was one of their major specialties, which is kind of interesting, right? Leading you down twisted pathways to discover secret truths hidden in codes. Really, really interesting stuff. Well, it's fascinating to know that these people that have to be intelligent to one high level or another just to be in this field and to operate at these levels, they at least told their friends that the end of the world was coming, as you know, as was mentioned by their name. Jesus was going to be there, and he was specifically going to be on Pensacola Beach,
which is just up the way from Gulf Breeze.
Exactly.
Right? Not the same, but it's just up the way. Oh, and I do want to point out they did get charged with AWOL and not desertion. That's originally what they had. And they received a general discharge. So they didn't get a dishonorable discharge. They just got let go.
Well, yeah, they were able to work it out, basically.
Yeah.
They were, the brass was pissed, and they wanted to give him a much worse thing, but they talked it out. But then it also says, at least according to this article, quote, they also said they were out to destroy the Antichrist who planned to sneak aboard a UFO. Whoa.
So the name of their group was appropriate. I mean, they were worried about this. They were worried about the end of the world as foretold in like Revelations and in biblical end of the world, right?
That is correct. Okay, now look, we're going to one last article, and then we're going to end it for now. I think this is a full episode because there's way more to the story here that we're going to be able to cover. There's one of the people, one of the 6, his name is Vance Davis, and he came forward with some information that the AP covered in 1992, 2 years after all of this stuff went down. I'm going to read you some of this. The title is Soldier Gives as Reason He Disappeared Orders from Ouija Board. Here's a quote from him. How ridiculous can you get? Jesus Christ is Jesus Christ. Why would he come in a flying saucer? No, says Davis. The reason they left their Army intelligence post was quite simple. Ouija board spirits told them they were needed to help lead the world through an impending cataclysm. Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa. What?
Ouija boards have done a lot, man, for affairs both metaphysical and international,
right?
We talked about it before, and this is no ding on Hasbro, which is a great company. I feel like a mass marketed game by Hasbro sold as a game may not be the number one way to make contact with the divine, the demonic, or the dead.
Or maybe Hasbro's in on it, bro.
Maybe Hasbro's in on it. Maybe it's an acronym Maybe it's an acronym.
but let me jump in here. So this is roughly 2 years after the thing. He's talking to a reporter. He says that according to the Ouija board, race riots in Los Angeles were going to be a signal to the group to go public. So once we see that, we're going to tell everyone our story. The others will come forward one by one, depending on public reaction to what Davis says. These are his words. Davis says, it all began innocently in November 1989. Quote, we decided to do some experimentation into things. We wanted to see if there was something actually to it. ESP, parapsychology, ghosts, tarot cards. And they said they essentially didn't get anywhere until they tried a Ouija board. And he says, someone showed up. I'm talking spiritually. In the months that followed, Davis says several spirits talked to the group predicting the Gulf War and the 1990 Iran earthquake. And then in May, they were trying to figure out a way to essentially leave. Like some of them were thinking they may leave the military service, and they couldn't really figure out a good way to do it. And then apparently, towards the end of May in that year, they were told by whatever they were contacting or whatever they thought they were contacting that they needed to leave the service because it was not going to help them grow and become what they were supposed to become. So they were really given a mission to help get people through all of the craziness that was going to happen. And I'll tell you what they said was going to happen. Davis says the changes include numerous earthquakes, volcano eruptions, a major eruption of Mount Rainier. We've decided that was it, right? Mount Rainier in Washington State. The devastation of New York City by a gas leak, food and race riots in every major city that would lead to martial law and economic collapse.
Okay, so that's kind of your garden variety end of the world sort of disaster mixtape. Oh, but I did come up with one. Ready? Holy announcements sent by real organisms. Hasbro.
That's
Putting
pretty great.
Holy in there. But, if you're anti-Ouija, you could call it hellish announcements sent by real organisms.
There you go. There you go. Well, I'm going to leave it at this for now. Besides the fact that Davis said the group would leave as all of this terrible stuff was happening, then they would come back essentially to be the new leaders. Once the world is thrown into chaos, they come back to make things right again. Fascinating stuff. It could be a situation where 6 people conspired to find a way to leave the government and their positions and then have a story that's pretty out there to where maybe they wouldn't get in trouble because they could claim that it's a far out story and maybe they're not in the right of mind, perhaps. Who knows? That's me putting a spin on it. I don't know if any of that has anything to do with reality. But there's also other stuff here. Maybe they were contacting some kind of thing, some kind of being that really was there, that really was a part of whatever that station was, that research station where they were at. There are allegations all over the place when it comes to the story about the government being in contact with beings that are helping them in some way see the future, very much in the way that these people believe this thing that they contacted showed them the future. Really, really interesting stuff. There is a book that you can read on this. There are numerous interviews on Coast to Coast and in other places where Davis and others spoke. I think we should cover it further in the future.
I agree.
Can dig a little more into it because there's got to be more meat on these bones.
Yeah. Hey, we might even have some of the folks from Coast to Coast on the show at some point. Can you imagine the war stories that they will have for us? But yeah, this is fascinating. So I want to thank you. I say it without a lick of irony here or humor. Oh, buddy, this story is a crazy one.
Oh, buddy, indeed. Thank you for sending that in. That was really great.